The United States says Iran has sent military experts to Russian-occupied Crimea to help launch drone attacks on Ukraine. Kyiv was struck by a wave of so-called kamikaze drones on Monday. Tehran denies supplying the weapons to Russia. It comes as Ukraine's president accuses Russia of planning to destroy a dam in the Kherson region. Our Ukraine correspondent, James Waterhouse, is in the southern city of Kryvyi Rih, and he sent this report about how Moscow is targeting key infrastructure.
A new kind of patrol for the police officers of Kryvyi Rih. On the lookout, not for criminals or Russians, but people using outside lighting. A sushi restaurant gets a surprise visit and a photo before a switch is flicked.
The aggressor wants to damage our energy system. That's why the city is doing its best to provide sufficient level of energy supply for people's daily lives.
70 properties were cut off for not following the rules.
It's only 7:30 and it feels like the curfew has already started. There are some street lights on, but the city is gradually falling dark. And this is what escalation looks like now. Through targeting Ukraine's infrastructure, the Russians are taking away more freedoms from people, making life that bit more difficult, especially with winter approaching.
Kryvyi Rih, along with the whole of Ukraine, is being forced to either ration energy or shut it down.
We've cut off streetlights by 60%. 50% of electric transport isn't operating. We've cut power for all sports and cultural buildings. Now we're finishing switching off any outside banners. And we also ask people to cut their electricity consumption.
Iran is helping Russia with its invasion, according to the US, providing training as well as these attack drones made by Tehran, deployed by Moscow. Both countries deny it. Where Russia is going backwards in the southern Kherson region, Kyiv has accused it of planting explosives on this key dam. Ukraine still has momentum, but progress isn't simple. James Waterhouse, BBC News, Kryvyi Rih.
There's growing anger in Russia over the forced mobilization of men to fight in the war in Ukraine. President Putin had said the call-up was a temporary measure, but today the Kremlin refused to say when it'll end. As Russian forces struggle to hold territory in Ukraine, men with no military experience are being sent to the front line to fight and often to die. Our Russia editor Steve Rosenberg reports.
This is the picture the Kremlin is trying to paint. Putin, the strong man, the caring commander-in-chief, and Russians lining up to do their patriotic duty, mobilized to fight in Ukraine. These alleged recruits are well equipped. But these aren't. For weeks now, mobilized Russians have been complaining of a lack of resources and training. These men say they've been given old guns and no helmets or body armour. Mobilisation has sparked deep alarm in Russian society. This human rights group is giving advice on what to do if your loved ones are sent to the front line. As you can see, it's packed. The Kremlin says that more than 200,000 reservists have been called up to fight. With mobilisation, what is happening in Ukraine has suddenly become very real for the Russian public. Now, the Kremlin wants Russians to believe that those people who've been drafted into the army are being sent off to defend the motherland. But not everyone here believes that. The voice belongs to Mikhail Ashichev. 500 miles from Moscow, he told the local military draft office he wasn't going to fight because there was no threat to Russia. Mikhail insists that if Russia truly needed defending, he would rush to volunteer. He considers himself a patriot. But he doesn't believe in this war. He won't fight Ukraine.
When mobilization was being discussed, I agreed with my family that if such a situation arose, I would refuse. even if they sent me to prison. If I had to, I would choose prison. The state will consider me a criminal if I don't go to fight in this war. But I won't be a criminal from the point of view of humanity or myself.
After his refusal to fight, Mikhail has received some abuse on Russian social media. But what is interesting is that he's had plenty of support, too, for his decision to take a moral stand. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.